My boss slapped her name on my $2.4 million proposal and called my work a rough draft she fixed. I didn't argue. I just waited for the investors to ask why her signature wasn't on any of the original files. It happened on a Tuesday. 10 in the morning. The kind of morning where the sunlight hits the glass conference table and makes everything look clean. Expensive. I was sitting in the back corner. The junior seat. Elena stood at the head of the table. She was wearing a suit that cost more than my car. She looked confident. Radiant, actually. He held up a thick, bound document. The cover was heavy cardstock. Navy blue. Gold lettering. Project Ether, she said. Her voice was smooth. Practiced. A comprehensive strategic overhaul for the Q3 expansion. She slid the copies down the table to the three investors. They opened them. Nodded. Made appreciative noises. I watched them turn the pages. Page 1. Executive Summary. Page 4. Market Analysis. Page 12. Risk Assessment. I knew every word on those pages. I knew them because I had written them. I had written them at 3 a.m. on my kitchen counter. I had written them while eating cold takeout. I had missed my niece's birthday party to finish the financial projections on page 42. But when the investors turned to the title page, I didn't see my name. Prepared by Elena Vance, Senior Director of Strategy. That was it. Just her name. Bold. I felt the blood drain out of my face. It happened fast. My hands went cold. My ears started to buzz, a low, static hum that drowned out the air conditioning. One of the investors, a man named Mr. Henderson with silver hair and a watch that ticked louder than a bomb, looked up. "This is impressive work, Elena," he said. "The detail in the logistical formatting, it's a significant step up from the preliminary reports." Elena smiled. It wasn't a nervous smile. It was a benevolent one. "Thank you, David," she said. "I took the team's rough concepts, specifically some raw data Jordan pulled, and really refined them. I needed to elevate the strategy to an executive level. It took a few sleepless nights, but the vision needed to be cohesive." That's me. He threw my name in there like a crouton in a salad. Raw data. I hadn't just pulled data. I had built the model. I had designed the architecture. I had written the copy. She hadn't refined anything. She had hit file, print, and bind. I looked at her. She didn't look back. She didn't even glance at me. To her, I wasn't a threat. I was furniture. I was a laptop with a pulse. I wanted to stand up. I wanted to flip the table. I wanted to scream that she didn't know the difference between a pivot table and a coffee table. But I didn't. I sat on my hands. Physically sat on them so they wouldn't shake. I needed this job. I had a mortgage that was barely 2 years old. I had credit card debt from the move. I had a sick parent 2 states away who needed help with prescriptions. Elena knew that. She knew exactly how tight my leash was. "Well," Mr. Henderson said, closing the binder. "We're ready to move forward. Pending the final compliance checks and the IP assignment, we can sign off on the funding. $2.4 million. Congratulations, Elena." "Thank you," she said. "I'll have the paperwork ready by end of day." The meeting broke up. Handshakes. Laughter. Elena walked out with the investors, chatting about golf courses in Scotland. She left me in the conference room with the empty water bottles and the silence. I walked over to the table. I picked up one of the binders she had left behind. It was heavy. I ran my thumb over her name on the cover. She had erased 9 months of my life with a printer. But here is the thing about Elena. She was great at office politics. She was great at networking. She was great at looking the part. But she was terrible at details. She didn't know that I was paranoid. She didn't know that 3 months ago, after she took credit for a smaller slide deck I made, I started doing something specific. Something invisible. Every PDF I generated had a digital watermark embedded in the metadata. And on the physical pages, a micro tag. A tiny, almost invisible string of text in the footer, white text on a white background. You couldn't see it with the naked eye. But if you highlighted the text in the digital file or adjusted the contrast on a scan, it was there. Drafted by Jordan V. Timestamp. Date, version 4.2. She had printed the document directly from the file I sent her. She hadn't even bothered to copy-paste the text into a new document. She was too lazy for that. She just changed the cover page and hit print. I went back to my desk. My cubicle. It was gray. Small. I could see her office from my seat. It was all glass. I watched her pour herself a sparkling water. She looked happy. She was probably calculating her bonus. I opened my email. I needed to be smart. If I went to HR now, it was my word against hers. She was a senior director. I was an analyst. HR exists to protect the company, not me. If I made a fuss, she would say I was not a team player. She would say I was difficult. She would fire me for insubordination before I could finish a sentence. I needed hard proof. Not just that I wrote it, but that she stole it. There is a legal difference. At 2:30 p.m. my inbox pinged. It was Elena. Subject: compliance paperwork. Urgent. I opened it. The body of the email was short. Asterisk: great job supporting the team today. The investors are moving fast. Compliance needs us to update our NDAs and IP assignment forms for the new fiscal year before the project funding clears. Attached is the updated standard agreement. Please sign and return to me by 5 p.m. so I can include it in the final package. Asterisk. Thanks. Supporting the team. I felt the bile rise in my throat. I opened the attachment. It looked like the standard company NDA. Boring. Legal jargon. But something felt off. Why was she sending this? Usually these things came from HR or legal directly. Why did she need it by 5 p.m.? And why did she need it before the funding cleared? I didn't sign it. Instead, I opened the original NDA I had signed 2 years ago when I was hired. I kept a copy in my personal Google Drive. I put them side by side on my monitors. I started reading. Line by line. Pause 1. Met. Pause 2. Met. Pause 3. Met. Clause 5. Intellectual property. The original said. Asterisk: intellectual property created by the employee during company hours shall be the property of the company. Standard stuff. The version Elena sent me said. Asterisk: all intellectual and strategic work produced by the employee, including past drafts and preliminary models, is retroactively considered the property and sole authorship of the supervising executive for the purpose of client continuity. I stared at the screen. I blinked. I read it again. Asterisk: sole authorship of the supervising executive. She wasn't just stealing the project. She was trying to legally erase me from it. She knew the investors might ask questions later. She knew that if the project became a massive success, my name might pop up in the file history. She was covering her tracks. If I signed this, I was agreeing that she wrote it. I was agreeing that I had never written it. She wasn't just a thief. She was stupid. Altering a legal document is fraud. It's not office politics. It's not being aggressive. It's a crime. But she had made one mistake. She sent it to me in a Word document. Not a PDF. She wanted me to print it, sign it, scan it, and send it back. I looked at the last modified metadata on the Word file she sent. Modified by Elena Vance. Time: 2:15 p.m. She had edited it herself. She hadn't gone to legal. She hadn't asked HR. She had typed that sentence in herself, probably while sipping that sparkling water I watched her pour. I leaned back in my chair. The anger was still there, but it was changing. It wasn't hot anymore. It was cold. It was a focused, icy clarity. She expected me to panic. She expected me to be the obedient junior employee who sees urgent and signs without reading. She expected me to be afraid of losing my job. And I was. I was terrified of losing my job. But I was more terrified of letting her win. Thought about my dad. I thought about the debt he left when he got sick. I thought about the nights I spent learning Python and SQL just so I could automate reports and get promoted. I thought about the fact that I hadn't taken a vacation in 3 years. She had spent the last 6 months planning her sister's wedding on company time while I built the revenue model that was about to get her a 6-figure bonus. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to storm into her office. I was going to play dumb. I was going to play the gray rock. Boring. Unemotional. Confused. I hit reply. Hi Elena. Asterisk: thanks for sending this. I'm trying to open the file, but the formatting is looking a little weird on my laptop. The margins are jumping around. Could you mind sending me a PDF version? Just want to make sure I'm signing the clean copy. Asterisk. Best. Certain. It was a bait. A simple, stupid bait. If she sent me a PDF, she would have to convert the document she just edited. And when you convert a Word doc to a PDF, it stamps the metadata hard. It locks in the author. It locks in the software used. And more importantly, she would be sending me a document that looked official, but contained her fraudulent clause. I waited. 10 minutes passed. I saw her in her office. She looked annoyed. She typed something aggressively. My inbox pinged. Asterisk, here is the PDF. Please sign immediately. Compliance is waiting. Asterisk. I opened the PDF. There was the clause. And at the bottom, her digital signature was already on the supervisor line. She had signed it first. She had put her legal signature on a fraudulent contract. I saved the email. I saved the attachment. I saved the original Word doc. I took screenshots of the metadata. I backed everything up to an external hard drive. Then I backed it up to a private cloud account. Then I printed it. I signed it. But I didn't sign it with my full name. I signed it with a slight variation. A signature I never used for official documents. Just in case. I scanned it and sent it back to her. Asterisk sent. Thanks, Elena. Asterisk. I watched her through the glass. She opened the email. She nodded. She closed her laptop. She grabbed her bag, a Balenciaga that cost 3 months of my rent, and walked out of the office. It was 4 p.m. She was leaving early to celebrate. She thought she was untouchable. She thought she had tied up the loose end. I waited until she was gone. Then I waited another hour. At 5:30 p.m. the office was mostly empty. I walked to the printer. I printed 79 pages. The version history log of Project Ether. Every edit. Every timestamp. Every comment. Jordan V. Added slide 14. Jordan V. Modified financial projection. Jordan V. Deleted paragraph 2. It was a diary of my labor. And it was bulletproof. I went back to my desk and drafted a new email. Not to Elena. To the general counsel. To the head of HR. And, blind carbon copied, to my personal email. Subject. Clarification regarding NDA clause and authorship of Project Ether. I didn't send it yet. Sending it now was too risky. They might just bury it. They might pay me off and fire me. I needed leverage. I needed a stage. The closing meeting with the investors was on Thursday. 2 days. I could wait 2 days. The next 48 hours were a masterclass in acting. Wednesday morning, Elena breezed in. Jordan, she chirped. Great news. Compliance processed the paperwork. We're all set for the signing tomorrow. That's great, Elena, I said. I didn't look up from my monitor. If I looked at her, she might see the rage. Hey, she said, tapping my desk. I need you to prep the conference room for tomorrow. Make sure the tech is working. I want to project the executive summary while we sign. Sure thing, I said. And order lunch, she added. Something nice. Maybe from that bistro on 4th. Will do. You're a star, she said and walked away. She was treating me like an assistant. I was the lead strategist on this project and she was asking me to order sandwiches. I ordered the sandwiches. I tested the projector. I made sure the HDMI cable was working perfectly. I was going to be very helpful. Wednesday night I didn't sleep. I went through my bank statements. I looked at the numbers. Student loan. $32,000 remaining. Dad's care home. $4,500 a month. My savings. $1,200. If this backfired, I was ruined. If I was wrong, if legal sided with her, I would be blacklisted. I would be the troublemaker. The liar. In this industry, reputation is everything. But I looked at the fraudulent NDA again. Asterisk sole authorship. It was so greedy. If she had just taken the credit and given me a bonus, I probably would have stayed quiet. If she had just ignored me, I would have seethed but kept working. But she tried to erase me. She tried to steal my past work and my future rights. That was the line. Thursday. 10 a.m. The same conference room. The same sunlight. Mr. Henderson was there. 2 other partners from the venture capital firm were there. The CEO of our company, a man named Marcus who rarely came down from the top floor, was there. And Elena. She was wearing white. A bold choice. She looked angelic. I was standing by the wall next to the AV cart. Okay, let's get started, Marcus said. We've reviewed the proposal. Solid. We're ready to execute the agreement. Elena beamed. Thank you, Marcus. I'm thrilling to lead this initiative. Before we sign, Mr. Henderson said, I just had one clarifying question about the risk model on page 50. The sensitivity analysis regarding the supply chain disruption. It's very specific. Walk me through the algorithm you used there. The room went quiet. Elena didn't blink. But I saw her hand tighten on her pen. Of course, she said. Well, as you know, we looked at historical data and extrapolated based on current market volatility. Yes, Henderson said. But the variable for the oceanic freight lag. You weighted it at 1.4 instead of the standard 1.2. Why? It was a technical question. A deep, weeds-level question. I knew the answer. I used 1.4 because of the strike potential in the Port of Los Angeles and the rising fuel surcharge indices I'd tracked for 3 months. Elena smiled tight. It was a conservative estimate, she said. To be safe. Safe. Henderson frowned. Increasing the weight makes the project look riskier, not safer. If you wanted to play it safe to get funding, you would have lowered it. Why did you raise it? Elena froze. She had no idea what he was talking about. She started. I felt it was important to represent the worst-case scenario. Henderson looked at her. He looked at the document. Then he looked at me. I don't know why. Maybe because I was the only other person in the room who wasn't wearing a tie. Maybe because I was staring at her with intensity that could melt glass. Jordan, Henderson said. You're on the team. Do you have insight on this? This was it. The door was open. I stepped forward. Actually, Mr. Henderson, I said. My voice was steady. The 1.4 weighting comes from the Q2 logistics report, which indicated a 40% probability of labor disputes in the Pacific Corridor. I coded that variable into the Python script that generated the model. Henderson raised an eyebrow. You coded the model? Elena laughed. A sharp, brittle sound. Jordan helped with data entry, she said quickly. He's great at plugging in numbers. I didn't just plug in numbers, I said. I walked over to the laptop connected to the projector. Elena, I said, do you mind if I show them the source file? We don't need to get into the weeds, she snapped. We have the printed summary. I think we do, Marcus, the CEO said. He was looking at Elena with a strange expression. Go ahead, Jordan. I plugged in my laptop. The screen flickered. And then huge on the wall appeared the file directory. This is the folder for Project Ether, I said. I opened the version history folder. Hundreds of files. Ether _draft _1 _Worden. Ether _draft _Worden. Ether _model _3 _Worden. I started this project in February, I said. Here is the metadata for every single file. I clicked on the final proposal. The one sitting on the table. I right-clicked. Properties. Details. Author, Jordan Vance. Last saved by, Jordan Vance. Elena, I said, turning to her. You printed this file at 9:45 a.m. on Tuesday. You didn't change a single word. You just changed the cover page. The room was dead silent. You could hear the hum of the projector fan. Elena stood up. Her face was red. This is inappropriate, she said to Marcus. This is insubordination. I supervised this work. It is my strategy. Jordan is an assistant. He doesn't understand the high-level thinking. I understand enough to know who wrote it, I said. But that's not the issue, I continued. I wasn't done. The issue isn't credit. It's compliance. I opened a new file. The side-by-side of the NDAs. On Tuesday afternoon, I said, addressing the investors, Elena asked me to sign a new NDA. She told me it was standard compliance. I zoomed in on the clause. The fraudulent, retroactively ownership clause. She altered a legal document, I said. She forged a clause to claim ownership of my intellectual property. And she sent it to me from her personal account to avoid the legal department's tracking system. I looked at Marcus. I forwarded the original email, the metadata proving she wrote the clause, and the forged document to General Counsel 10 minutes ago. Elena looked like she had been slapped. She looked at the screen. She looked at Marcus. She looked at the investors. Mr. Henderson closed the binder. He pushed it away from him. Marcus, he said. His voice was very quiet. We can't do business with a firm that falsifies ownership documents. That is federal fraud. Marcus stood up. He wasn't looking at me anymore. He was looking at Elena. His face was gray. Elena, Marcus said. Did you write that clause? I was just trying to protect the company, she stammered. Her smooth corporate voice was gone. She sounded high-pitched. Desperate. He's ungrateful. I was just formalizing the hierarchy. Did legal approve it? Marcus asked. I didn't have time. You said you wanted the deal closed. So you forged a contract, Marcus said. It's not forgery, she screamed. I'm the director. It's my department. The door opened. 2 people walked in. One was the general counsel, a woman named Sarah who looked terrifying. The other was a security guard. Sarah didn't look at the screen. She already knew. Elena, Sarah said. We need you to step out. Now. You can't be serious, Elena said. She grabbed her bag. This is ridiculous. I bring in millions for this company. Not today, Henderson said. He didn't even look at her. He was looking at his phone. Elena looked at me. For the first time she really looked at me. She didn't see furniture. She didn't see an assistant. She saw the person who just ended her career. You little snake, she hissed. Actually, I said. It's senior strategist. Security stepped forward. Ma'am, the guard said. Please. She didn't go quietly. She argued the whole way to the door. She threatened to sue. She threatened to call her father. She threatened to burn the place down. But she left. When the door closed, the silence came back. But it felt different. It didn't feel cold. Marcus sat down. He rubbed his temples. I apologize, he said to the investors. I had no idea. Clearly, Henderson said. He looked at me. Jordan, was it? Yes, sir. Do you know the risk model? Sir. I wrote it. Do you know the rollout strategy? Yes. Phase 1 starts in Q3, focusing on the Northeast Corridor. Henderson nodded. He picked up the pen Elena had dropped. He slid the contract, the real funding contract, across the table. We're not signing anything with Elena's name on it, Henderson said. Print a clean copy. Put your name on the cover. And bring it back here in 10 minutes. I looked at Marcus. Marcus nodded. Do it. I unplugged my laptop. I walked out of the conference room. I walked past Elena's office. Security was already there. They were watching her pack a cardboard box. She was crying. She was holding a stapler and crying. I didn't stop. I didn't say anything. I walked to the printer. I opened the file. I deleted the cover page. I typed. Project Ether. Prepared by Jordan Vance. Lead strategist. I hit print. The machine whirred. The paper came out warm. I walked back into that room and signed the paperwork myself. My hand didn't shake. Not even a little bit. The aftermath wasn't instantaneous peace. It was chaotic. For the next 2 weeks, legal was in my office every day. They needed affidavits. They needed the email chains. They needed access to my hard drive. I gave them everything. I was transparent. I was helpful. Elena was terminated for cause. Gross misconduct. Because she was fired for cause, specifically fraud, she lost her severance. She lost her unvested stock options. And because the industry is small, word traveled fast. You can survive a failed project. You can survive a bad quarter. You cannot survive being known as the executive who forges legal documents to steal from junior staff. I checked her LinkedIn a month later. Open to work. Her profile picture was gone. As for me, Marcus called me into his office on a Friday. I thought I was going to be fired. Companies don't always like the whistleblower. Sometimes they just want the problem to go away. I sat in the chair, the nice chair, the one Elena used to sit in. We're restructuring the department, Marcus said. Hey, I said. We can't make you a director yet, he said. You don't have the management experience. My heart sank. But, he continued, we can't lose you. The investors made that clear. Henderson likes you. He says you actually know the math. Marcus slid a piece of paper across the desk. It wasn't an NDA. It was an offer letter. Role, principal strategist. Salary, $145,000. Signing bonus, $20,000. It was double my salary. Literally double. And, Marcus said, we're implementing a new policy. All strategic documents must have digitally signed authorship blocks. No more team attribution without specific names. Thank you, I said. Don't thank me, Marcus said. You saved us a massive lawsuit. If we had signed that deal with Elena and the fraud came out later, we would have been liable. I signed the offer letter. I walked out of the building. I went to the bank. I deposited the bonus check. Then I called my dad. Hey, I said. You don't have to worry about the prescription costs anymore. I've got it covered. Are you sure? He asked. That's a lot of money, kiddo. I'm sure, I said. I got a raise. I drove home. I didn't take the highway. I took the back roads. I rolled the windows down. The air smelled like rain and gasoline, but to me it smelled like freedom. I stopped at a garden center on the way home. I bought 3 hydrangeas. Big blue ones. I had wanted to plant a garden for 2 years, but I never had the money or the time. Now I had both. When I got home I dug the holes. I got dirt under my fingernails. Real dirt. Not metaphorical dirt from office politics. I planted the flowers. I watered them. I sat on my porch steps and watched the sun go down. My phone buzzed. It was a text from a number I didn't know. Asterisk, you think you won? This isn't over. Asterisk. I knew who it was. I didn't block the number. I didn't reply. I just took a screenshot. Saved it to my drive. Labeled it evidence _harassment _v1. Then I put the phone down. He was right about one thing. I didn't just win. I conquered. She had tried to erase me with a legal sentence. I erased her with her own PDF. And the best part? Every time those investors look at the Project Ether reports now they see my name. Not in the footer. Not in the metadata. But right on the front page. Where it belongs. 6 months later I was at a conference in Chicago. I was presenting the Phase 2 updates for Project Ether. The room was full. 300 people. I was wearing a suit I bought with my own money. No credit card debt. I was mid-sentence explaining the logistics curve when I saw her. Elena. She was standing near the back, near the catering table. She wasn't wearing white. She was wearing a gray suit that looked a little too big. She was wearing a guest badge. Not a speaker badge. Not a VIP badge. Just guest. He was watching me. I paused. Just for a fraction of a second. Our eyes locked across the room. There was no anger in me anymore. The cold fury was gone. There was just pity. He had everything. She had the office, the salary, the status. And she lost it all because she couldn't stand the idea of sharing credit. She lost it all because she got greedy. I turned back to the audience. I clicked the clicker. The next slide came up. A massive graph showing 20% growth. As you can see, I said into the microphone. The data confirms the strategy. The audience applauded. When I looked back at the catering table, she was gone. I walked out of that conference hall and checked my email. An automated notification from Zillow. Price drop, 45 Maple Street. It was a house I had been watching. A house with a porch. A house with a yard for more hydrangeas. I called the realtor. I'd like to make an offer, I said. It's a competitive market, she warned me. Are you pre-approved? I am, I said. And I can put 20% down. Wow, she said. Hey, let's write it up. I hung up. I stood on the sidewalk in Chicago. The wind was blowing off the lake. I took a deep breath. Justice isn't always loud. Sometimes justice is a quiet garden. Sometimes justice is paying your bills on time. Sometimes justice is seeing the person who tried to bury you standing in the back of the room while you hold the microphone. My boss tried to steal my future. But she forgot the most important rule of the digital age. Paper trails are forever. And I kept the receipts.